Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Star in Focus podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Oakes, and with us here today we have Mike Duffy, who is a certified electronic reporter. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hi, Deanna. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well also, thank you. So I'm really excited to chat with you a little bit about your journey through the court reporting world. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got started in the industry, and then we can talk about your segue through and your different methodologies and whatnot.
Sure. Like many men in this field, I got involved through my wife. She was a stenographic court reporter, and I married her. And then she had a business going, and she needed some help, so I jumped in to help out. Next thing I know, I'm certified legal video specialist and helping in the office and doing all that kind of stuff. And business was going gangbusters. We got to the point where we couldn't provide all the court reporters we needed. So we had more jobs than we could cover. We were reaching out to everybody in town to help us out, and we were getting turned down. So we were turning down clients. We didn't like that.
Right.
So we had to figure something out.
Sure.
And then so I investigated more about this digital reporting stuff. Saw that the technology had come along far enough that we felt comfortable that we could put out a transcript that you couldn't tell whether a steno reporter did it or a digital reporter did it. And once we felt comfortable that we could do that, then we thought we should start getting digital reporting as part of our mix at our company, Bridges Court Reporting. So I took on that task. I studied the software. I'd already been a videographer, so I was pretty comfortable with audio and how all that worked. And that was primary focus of a digital reporter, is making sure you've got a good, clean audio. So I figured out what hardware we needed, investigated some of the different softwares out there, found one that seemed to work pretty well, and I learned that, and then we started training some people to become digital reporters.
That's really cool. I think that's great that you were training them in-house. I mean, that's amazing. Were these just like college graduates, or were they stenographic reporters? Who were you training?
So we went to we had a couple different avenues that we went down. First, we looked at the local steno schools where people were not able to get their speed up, but still were interested in being court reporters. So we brought one of those students in, trained her how to be a digital reporter, and she was really excited because she could now go and do what she always wanted to do, which is get involved in the court proceedings and be a court reporter. The next person we found was a student. He had been working in a different area, was looking for a new job, looking for new challenges. Debbie had known him growing up, so she knew he was a good guy. He'd grown up on around the corner. So we brought him in, and his background was more audio focused. He was a musician. That was his hobby, and
Okay.
he loved music, and he had a good understanding of digital audio. So bringing him up to speed wasn't too hard. We just had to teach him about transcripts and that kind of stuff,
Right.
which isn't that hard to do. We did it a little bit differently. It worked well for us. We were very successful with it. We were able to grow our business significantly once we brought the digital reporters on board.
That is such a heartwarming story. I really love to hear those success stories where people are, because obviously you guys are making, money and being successful, but just the offering of jobs. And the thing that I think is really important too, especially nowadays, is going to a university, going to college is incredibly expensive. And
Yeah.
so it's just nice to be able to, trades are like making a comeback or whatever. It's nice to know that, or maybe you don't want to be a nurse anymore, and you've done it for 15 years or something. It's just kind of nice to have another option where you can be successful and, there are jobs available. I think that that's really positive and it's really enlightening. And obviously the technology has come very far, but our human involvement is what is important, right? And so I think that's really amazing. When you guys went, I know that you were fortunate enough to, retire and sell your business. I don't know what the proper term is for that, but yeah, sell your business. What would you say?
Yeah, we sold the business, and now I'm living the good life.
Yeah, you guys were able to segue to living the good life. So at the time that you guys did sell your business, were you like equal? Did you have the same amount of digital reporters as you had stenographers, or how did that look?
I would say we're like 2-to-1 steno to digital. We had twice as many steno reporters working for us on a regular basis as we had our in-house digital reporters.
So still a ton of room to move, you know, a ton of
Yeah.
opportunity to grow still. That's awesome. And I only say that because I know that there are a lot more people being trained in, you know, the digital realm than there are, or a lot of people, more people graduating, I should say, than in the steno world. But do you still feel like you want to work, or you still feel like you want to put your skills? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm taking jobs. I take jobs 2 to 3 days a week, um, and I'm perfectly willing to go live downtown or work remote, whatever they need me for. I got. I'm young. I'm not old yet.
Absolutely.
I'm in no hurry to slow down, but they made an offer that I couldn't refuse, so we just changed gears a little bit.
No, that's beautiful. Absolutely. Why would you refuse it? You know, especially if it gives you a little more time to do the things that you enjoy. And so are you a freelancer now?
Yes, so I'm a freelancer now.
Okay. Yeah, because having employees is a very uncommon thing in our industry. So did you just employ the digital reporters, or was everybody on your team just the digitals?
Just the digitals, yeah. The stun reporters were still independent contractors, and we were comfortable with that model. That worked for them. But we wanted, like I said, we wanted to get the digitals more involved with the transcript. If you just hire them to record it and then send it off to a transcriptionist, yeah, we weren't comfortable that the final product was going to be as good. So we thought the way to get around that was to hire them and pay them a salary and give them a bonus structure and all this kind of stuff, so they could make as much as a steno reporter if they were doing well. But we wanted them to be able to. We wanted to be able a little more control over them and make sure that they were reviewing those transcripts and making sure that we were getting the best product we could out the door to our clients.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me for sure. So now, what are you doing with the rest of your time?
Let's see. We've been traveling a little bit more. We tended to travel pretty regularly before we sold the business, but there were some limitations. So now we're trying to get out. We got a trip for Europe planned and all that, and we're going to spend some time not working for a while. So that's nice. As a business owner, you're never you're never really off the clock. So now it's nice. We have some downtime. We've picked up pickleball, and we're starting to get involved with that on a regular basis. So that's fun. So yeah, we're just exploring what Deb's picked up painting, which yeah, which I didn't realize she was really good at, but she is. She really loves the watercolors, and she's awesome. So she's doing that. That's fun. We're spending more time with family, and that's nice too.
Yeah, absolutely. What about your kids? Did they follow in your footsteps? Are they in the industry?
Nope, couldn't convince any of them. They all had other plans, so that's fine.
Right.
They're all successful. We can't. No one's living in the basement or anything like that. They're all off on their own.
Right, for sure. I feel like it's like that. It's either that, everybody in the family, they've all done this for, their whole lives, or, no one in the family wants to do what their parents did, right? It's
Right.
kind of
Yeah, I think they saw how much work it was. They're like, nah, we don't want to do that.
right. But that's the thing, right? Once you get good at it, I mean, the work should be, but owning your own business obviously comes with a lot more intricacies than just, being gainfully employed. So I'm
Yeah.
sure. And it seems like you both are very much, ambitious, very, results driven. I don't want to say workaholic because I just feel like it's not a good term, but
No. We like to be busy.
sure. Yeah,
Being
definitely.
productive. Yeah.
So what would you say your favorite part of the industry is?
Um, Probably being on taking depositions, going out there and listening to all these crazy things that go on in the world, and trying to, and then the afterwards, the puzzle of putting all the pieces together, making that transcript, beautiful, so that everybody else that needs to can see what happened there.
Yeah, what crazy stuff took place.
Yeah.
Would you say that you liked being a videographer better or being a reporter better?
I probably would go with being a reporter better. I mean, I've seen more involved as a videographer. I just kind of seem, you flip the camera on and you're there recording and making sure that the audio is good, and it wasn't very challenging. Let's put it that way. Whereas being a reporter is much more challenging. brain's always engaged, and I like that. So always trying to, I'm listening to make the entire time, make sure we're getting all the words down, and then when I'm editing the transcript at the end, I'm making sure that all the right words are there. And you get to those spots where you're like, what did he say there? Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. I got to listen to that again. Oh, it still doesn't make sense. Did he really say that?
Right. It's so funny because so I try not to interrupt during depositions. I think that's pretty commonplace, right? We try not to interrupt. But so I always go back at the end and I'll ask them for spellings, right? But then
Right.
sometimes when a word goes by, this one, I kept hearing sheep murder. And I was just, so I flag it, and I'm just like, that is so weird, right? And you try to stay focused. I think that's the hardest part of our job, is staying focused. So you can't wander off too much, but I'm like, that is such a weird thing to say. And then we go back, and he's like, no, sheep herder. I'm like, that makes so much more sense. Why did I hear murder? So
A shepherd? What herder? It's a shepherd?
oh my God, it was like 3 times, too. I think once it was in my brain, I couldn't let it go or something. I'm not sure, but... yeah, definitely when those words sound like things. And it happens. Somebody had told me, I don't know if you remember the, years ago now, it was like blue and black or white and gold, the dress, that like people were seeing different colors. Do you remember? It was like a huge thing. You remember talking about? So somebody had told me that the same thing happens with audio, and that I have no firsthand experience with this, but I guess there was an audio clip that, half the people thought it was this and the other half thought it was that. So I thought that was a very interesting, I don't know what that is in your brain, but I mean, obviously it exists, so it threw me for a loop, You just don't think of those kinds of details, right?
No, not if you're not until you're like deep in, elbow deep in it, trying to figure it out.
For sure. So now that you're, just sort of freelancing and casually taking on some depositions, do you do all of it? Do you do it from start to finish, or do you outsource?
I would say 90% of the time I'm doing it all myself. If I get a really long job and I've got some, I've got some pages already built up, I have a company that will help me out. And then I send it off to them. They do the editing and they send it back to me, and then I'll listen to the audio and make sure everything was right.
And then what about proofing? Do you proof too?
I wish. No, I'm a math guy. Not so much. So I've got I got a couple proofreaders that I send my stuff off to every single job goes to the proofreader.
Yes, definitely. The same. If I have to proof a job, it's not good, right? I must. Sky's falling. I have to proof for sure. That's nice to have a good team of people, and that's what it's all about too, right? I mean, if you can tell, I really like having a team of people and working together and giving people jobs and that kind of thing. I think that's in the weirdest way. There's like a little bit of a team element there for each individual reporter, right?
Right.
And are these proofers that you have been working with for 30 plus years, or?
Oh, no. I would say that I've had one we worked with when we started the digital reporting. So I've been working with her for about 5 years. She's really good. Second one we picked up just before we sold the business. And then I've got a company of freelancers that, both of them are not available that I reach out to. So got to have at least 3 options, right?
Yes, definitely. And it's kind of hard sometimes to find good, reliable work. So once you get one, you really want to hold on to them for sure. Yeah. Do you have any tips or tricks or anything fun that you want to share? Any words of wisdom for me?
Tips or tricks? No, my biggest tip is be prepared when you're walking in. Do a little bit of research ahead of time. Look at the notice, look at the notice of dep, and make sure that everything's right. If it says the date is the 20th and it's the 21st tomorrow, make sure that check that. Make sure the dates are right. Check spellings. Don't count on. Who wrote that dep? Who wrote that dep notice? I don't.
Right. I was going to say somebody in the law firm, right?
Yeah. So one of the first things you do, you check with the opponent and say, hey, is this how you spell your name, Mr. Smith? No, it's YTHE. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes. And I always ask too, is this your legal name? Because I had it happen, right? So many of our lessons come from failure, but I had it happen where it was noticed as I don't even remember right now, but Bree something, and then come to find out it's Brianna or whatever it was. And so, Yeah, it was very awkward for me. It's like, okay, well, I swore you in as Bree or whatever it was, you know. So I definitely agree with that, to kind of get all of that stuff ahead of time for sure.
Yeah, so just feeling prepared. So when you go in, you feel confident, and when you're confident, then things seem to go a lot smoother than if you're, you remember those times where you've been scheduled at the last moment because you're going in to save the day, and you rush in and oh, she looks like she froze. But you rush in and you don't feel that, you don't have that same confidence, and then things start falling apart. I don't know. It just seems to me that that's when all of a sudden I have technical difficulties, or I got to do 25, end up having to do 25 readbacks, and I felt like only two of them were good.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's so funny because for me, it could be readback, it could be marking exhibit stickers. It doesn't matter. I feel like I'm a very, outgoing person, very chatty. But when I'm in a professional setting where it's, a legal setting like that, I am just fumbling, right? Like I can't
Right.
get the exhibit sticker off. It's just like the most random stuff. Yeah, it's just like, oh man. I don't want anyone to look at me during this process, right? But yeah, being prepared, having all of those ducks in a row really definitely does set the stage for sure. I absolutely would say. So I try to ask people to, because we are trying, our whole mission is, outreach, education, inclusivity. What do you think that you would tell somebody who doesn't know anything about our profession, maybe some reasons that they might want to check it out?
It's a really interesting profession. You're going to be challenged mentally, so that's good. It also is very flexible. I mean, if you're a digital reporter, there's different ways you can go about it. If you just want to be a guy that records, you can make a nice living just going and recording and then sending off the audio and being done, almost like gig work. And but if you want to get really involved and use like MaxScribe and put a whole transcript together and be like a court reporter, you've got that option too. So it's challenging. It's you can make a nice living. It's flexible. I mean, it's got a lot of good things going for it. Do you need a lot of education? It helps, but it's not required. You don't have to have a 4-year degree. You could have a 2-year degree, or you could gone to school for 1 year. But you're comfortable with technology and you're comfortable with the English language. I mean, you can do it. So. I think those are all good reasons to investigate it if that's something that you're trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, me too.
I did want to ask you though, actually, you had said something about you hadn't had a lot of courtroom experience as a videographer. So did you work in the courthouse as a digital just offhand or regularly?
Now, I was pretty regular because steno reporters don't like going to the courthouse, so we sent all the digitals to the courthouse. So we were going to the digitals went to the court regularly. So we're taking trials and motions and everything. So yeah, we were doing the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's really great. And that's the thing. If there's an opportunity out there, that's what we just have to look at it as, an opportunity. If somebody doesn't want to take it, that's their right to not take it. But let's certainly allow somebody else to have a shot at it. That's great. Really great.
Yeah,
Well,
I enjoyed taking the trials. I thought it was really interesting to watch how both sides presented their arguments and how everything was all the pieces were there in place. So, in a deposition you only get a little picture, a little snapshot of what's going on in this case. Here you get the trial, you get to see most of it, maybe not all of it because of all the motions in limine and stuff they can't talk about, but it's kind of interesting how it all comes together.
Yeah, I actually think that's a very good point, because that is one of the things that I hate, is that you only get to see a tiny snippet of it, and I really want to know. I'm actually working on an arbitration right now that I really want to know how it's going to end, and I'm not, going to be like, is it inappropriate to call and ask? But yeah,
Right.
that is a very good point, and I always thought court was kind of fun because when you're I just felt like you're like in a cool club or something when you're in the chambers, you're like behind the scenes. Yeah.
Everybody lets their guard down for a minute and they're like human beings again for a moment. And
yes, definitely. There's pros and cons to all of the things, right? I mean, that's I don't do a lot of court work, but now that we're talking about it, I'm like, maybe I should, pop in there for a couple trials too. I mean, that can be juicy for sure.
Yeah, good work. And, they're challenging in their own ways, but it's nice to do something different every once in a while, just to break up the the dep after dep after dep.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any trials that stand out to you? Any?
Nothing juicy for me, no. Unfortunately, it was all pretty much
Yeah.
standard stuff. Nothing too exciting. I mean, in my career, I've run into some stuff as a videographer, but nothing. Again, they were deps. They weren't trials. So.
Right. What was the most like wildest thing, if you can even tell us?
Yeah, there was a big fraud situation. They actually was on, on Made TV. It was so good, where a company was built up based on just massive fraud. The guy that owned it, he was in the commodities business, and he was falsifying statements for everybody. So he would sit back there with, Adobe whatever, and changing all the statements before they went out to people, and he was just living the high life and stealing money, and it finally caught up to him one day. I can't exactly remember all the details. It was several years ago, but that was kind of interesting. I was a videographer, so I got to be on like all the depths and every piece of it. So it was kind of interesting. I actually got to see most of it, including the depth from the guy in jail. I mean, he was already in prison. This was the civil case that there were some of the people trying to get some money back. So that we had the old jailhouse video job.
I have heard about deposition in jail, but like it's not something that is very common. I mean, what was that like? You weren't in a cell, right?
No. It was a remote. It was a remote before remote things were cool.
Oh.
So he was at the prison, and they did a remote into the attorney's office, and we had like 12 attorneys from all these different people that were involved in the civil case trying to get some money back. Around this big table, and they had the just like a Zoom dep, except it was hybrid. So that the witness was on the Zoom TV, and everybody else was around asking questions, and I was video recording the TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was probably the most interesting one that sticks on my head. But most other stuff, general run of the mill.
Yeah, a lot of it can be a little bit dry for sure.
Yeah.
But having the video set up in jail is just, I don't know, that just feels like, I don't know, like a movie or something. It feels a little bit. It already gives you like an interest, right? It's intriguing just by the nature of it. And I mean, obviously, if he was stealing a bunch of money, he deserves to be in jail. So, I like it when they have a happy ending, so to speak, if you can call that a happy ending. Justice was served.
Exactly. Justice was served.
Right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Mike. It's been great, and to hang out during all of our technology glitches while we have been recording this. It's been really good to chat with you, and it's nice to hear people who have positive things to say and just encourage people to get into the industry. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. This was fun. Thanks so much.
Of course, and thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.